Wake up. I just want to tell you that everything you know about air turns into a weapon. The sky goes from blue to a sickly mustard haze. The sunlight feels thicker, like it's pressing on your skin. You inhale. On instinct, bad move. The air is 96.5% carbon dioxide with a sting of sulfur dioxide. And it hits your lungs like acid. The pressure slams you from 1 bar to about 92 bars. What you'd feel nearly a kilometer under the ocean. Your ears don't pop, your chest does. And the heat. Try 867 degf. That's hot enough to soften aluminum and liquefy lead. On the sidewalks, car badges drool into metallic teardrops. You're standing on Earth, but it's wearing Venus's atmosphere right now, all at once. Clouds aren't fluffy, they're curtains of sulfuric acid. The breeze has the personality of an incinerator. Trees flash dry. Asphalt outgasses. The oceans begin to boil from the top down. Not because water decided to, because the new air is a furnace wrapped in a vice. You can't see far. And what you do see shimmers with heat, mirage distant buildings bending, then sagging, then failing. As steel loses its strength like taffy at a county fair from hell. If you're wondering about oxygen, there isn't enough to matter. You don't asphyxiate so much as you get chemically evicted. The first thing to fail is consciousness. The second is everything else. This isn't climate change over centuries. This is a planetary body swap in a single heartbeat. So, what collapses first? The biosphere, the oceans, or the planet's geologic engine itself? Today, you'll watch Earth try to survive as its gentlest feature air becomes the deadliest surface in the solar system. The change begins in silence. No explosion. No thunder. Just a pressure wave that no human ear can process. Within a fraction of a second, the molecular composition of Earth's atmosphere shifts every nitrogen. Every oxygen molecule replaced by a dense, choking fog of carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide. At ground level, the pressure leaps from a gentle 1 bar to 92 bars, equivalent to being trapped beneath 3,000 feet of ocean. The human body, delicately adapted to a whisper of air, has no defenses. Lungs collapse inward like crumpled foil. Sinuses implode. The pressure doesn't crush bones, they're too strong for that, but it crushes the spaces between them, the alveoli, the ears, the cells themselves. It's not a suffocation. It's a mechanical implosion. A death by physics, not biology. Then comes the heat. Within seconds, the surface air temperature skyrockets to 867 degree, 464 degree weeks. Asphalt bubbles. Metal streetlights soften. Skin carbonizes before pain can register. Insects, plants, microbes. Every living thing instantly passes the point of thermal death. Protein chains unravel, DNA snaps apart, and the moisture inside tissues flashes into vapor. Ripping cells open from the inside. Oceans hiss, rivers boil. The sudden temperature gradient more than 800 degrees between air and water drives a global storm of steam. For a few brief minutes, before the water vapor merges into the acid-thick atmosphere, Earth is wrapped in fog, a ghostly white shroud rising from every surface. But this is no morning mist. It's the dying breath of an entire biosphere. The water vapor, now climbing into the carbon dioxide sky, meets sulfur dioxide and bonds chemically into sulfuric acid droplets. Within minutes, clouds form not of water, but of acid, dense and yellow, covering the entire planet. The once blue Earth vanishes beneath its new skin, reflecting sunlight in dazzling brilliance from orbit. While below, the surface remains an inferno. Buildings buckle as air pressure slams against them with the force of 100 atmospheres. Windows explode outward. Airplanes, satellites, drones, all engineered for 1 bar crumple as though made of paper. The International Space Station, above the chaos, sees a strange transformation, the blue marble turning dull amber. Its clouds replaced by swirling yellow smog. At ground level, combustion as we know it ceases. There isn't enough oxygen to burn. Instead, thermal decomposition takes its place. Plastics and hydrocarbons disintegrate, releasing their own carbon and hydrogen to feed the new chemical equilibrium. In seconds, The planet's oxygen is chemically bound into carbonates, sulfates, and oxides. Fire, paradoxically, becomes impossible because everything is already oxidized. If you could somehow survive those first moments inside a perfect pressure suit, you'd see the ground buckling like a slow wave. Air that heavy doesn't just press down, it pushes sideways, warping the horizon with refraction. The sky above you isn't red or orange, but yellow-white, like molten brass seen through fog. Lightning flashes silently between acid clouds. But the sound never reaches you. The air is too dense, too heavy for thunder to travel as you know it. Within minutes, the atmosphere stabilizes into a dense, suffocating equilibrium. The troposphere, normally stretching 10 miles high, is now compressed to a few thousand feet. The horizon feels closer, the world smaller, as if gravity itself had thickened. And then, silence again. No birds, no rustle, no waves. Only the low hiss of a planet in chemical agony. The Earth has entered its Venus phase, a mirror world where air is liquid heat, water is vapor, and life, in all its forms, has ceased to exist. But this was only the first hour. The next stage will not just kill life, it will erase it. In the coming days, even the oceans will not survive. The first day after the transformation is a planet-wide boil. From space, Earth looks like a steaming cauldron, white plumes spiraling up through sulfuric haze. Every ocean, every lake, every glacier is vaporizing from the top down. The pressure, 92 bars, keeps water from flashing instantly into vapor. But the temperature, 8 to 67 degrees, leaves no mercy. It forces a slow, violent equilibrium where the upper layers churn like molten glass. Imagine standing at what used to be the Pacific coast. The horizon is gone. The sea has turned into a vast, gray inferno of vapor. Gigantic waves collapse into superheated fog. Even if you were shielded, you'd hear the distant roar of bubbles the size of houses collapsing beneath the pressure, turning the sea into a convecting hellscape. Within a few days, the global ocean begins to thin. As more vapor rises, it mixes with carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide, creating an atmospheric chemistry that mirrors Venus's almost perfectly thick layers of sulfuric acid clouds, swirling miles deep. Rain still falls, but it's acid rain, so dense it hits the ground like liquid fire. The steam-laden air traps even more heat. The planet becomes a self-feeding furnace. Water vapor, one of the most potent greenhouse gases, adds another layer to the deadly feedback loop. The more the oceans boil, the hotter the air gets. The hotter the air gets, the faster the oceans vanish. Within a few weeks, the last puddles of the Atlantic and Indian Oceans are reduced to superheated brine, leaving behind crusts of mineral salt glowing faintly red from heat. Continents warp under the stress. The loss of water weight destabilizes tectonic plates. Massive fissures open across the seafloor as magma rises unchecked. Steam vents burst through what used to be the ocean basins, feeding new sulfur and carbon dioxide into the sky. By the end of the first month, Earth has lost its oceans, 300 million cubic miles of water gone, turned into vapor and acid clouds. From orbit, the planet gleams dull yellow, indistinguishable from Venus itself. The last remnants of blue oceans, rivers, glaciers exist only as memory and chemistry. And beneath that molten sky, the world begins its next transformation, the slow death of its surface and the unraveling of everything humans ever built. By the second month, Earth's transformation isn't just biological, it's architectural. Cities don't burn, they melt. Steel frames that once held up skylines begin to sag as temperatures hover at 867 degrees. Concrete, swollen with trapped steam, bursts apart in violent cracks. Glass facades droop like wax. Bridges buckle and fall, their suspension cables soften to the consistency of taffy. The air is no longer merely poisonous, it's corrosive. Sulfuric acid rain falls in sheets, dissolving metal, etching stone, and reducing monuments to ghostly outlines. In what used to be New York, skyscrapers crumble inward. In Tokyo, the bay has turned into a field of bubbling mud. Even the polar regions, once refuges of cold, have become plains of scorched rock. Underground bunkers and sealed facilities fail next. The enormous pressure squeezes steel doors inward like tin foil. Circuits, batteries, plastics all decompose under relentless heat. Humanity's fingerprints, its art, its history. Its machines are erased molecule by molecule. Even the geology begins to change. Without water to lubricate faults, the crust hardens. Earth's tectonic engine, the invisible force that built mountains and recycled continents, grinds to a halt. The planet's heart still burns, but now it has no way to breathe. In just a century, the surface becomes unrecognizable. No oceans, no vegetation, no ruins, just a planet of rust, basalt, and acid clouds. The Anthropocene is gone, geologically overwritten by a new epoch of fire. But the transformation isn't finished. Deep below, pressure and trapped heat are gathering, preparing to reshape the planet from within. Centuries later, the chaos gives way to silence. The atmosphere, thick and stagnant, settles into equilibrium. 92 bars of crushing carbon dioxide cloaked beneath endless sulfuric clouds. Sunlight can no longer reach the ground directly. It filters through as a dim orange glow, painting the landscape in perpetual dusk. The ground itself is a mosaic of cooled lava plains, metallic dust, and fractured basalt. Earth's continents fused into one immobile shell. Tectonic plates no longer move. With every trace of water gone, the mantle has stiffened. Subduction, volcanism, mountain building. All the slow rhythms of a living planet have stopped. Instead, heat trapped inside the core rises in violent pulses, forming immense mantle plumes that break the crust from below, flooding entire regions with new lava every few millennia. These eruptions don't build new continents, they simply resurface the old, erasing the past again and again. From orbit, the planet now glows faintly in infrared, a slow-burning ember. It's stable, but sterile. The biosphere is gone, the hydrosphere is gone. Even the memory of blue oceans and green forests is gone. Only chemical traces of calcium carbonate and oxidized metals remain, buried beneath volcanic rock. In every measurable way, Earth has become Venus's twin, a perfect replica forged in catastrophe. The only difference is historical. This world once had life. Now, its silence is eternal, a museum of what happens when air becomes a weapon, when a planet's gentle balance tips forever into fire. Earth under a Venusian sky is more than a thought experiment. It's a mirror held to our own fragility. One shift in atmospheric chemistry, and paradise becomes poison. What took Venus millions of years to lose? Earth surrendered in a single heartbeat. This wasn't just the death of life, it was the death of motion, of water, of memory. The oceans boiled, the crust froze, and the planet fell silent beneath clouds of acid and fire. Yet within this silence lies a warning. The difference between a living world and a dead one isn't cosmic, it's chemical. Every ton of carbon, every degree of heat, edges us infinitesimally closer to the same precipice.